Shalom, shalom. Hello, Mr. Lee Weissman. And I'm Lale Tuncer, and we're here today to talk about Abraham, peace be upon him. So Lee Weissman and myself are charity trustees for the charity Universal God Message of Peace, which is a charity set up in 2019 with the aim of promoting peace and harmony between people of different faiths from an Abrahamic perspective. So we're going to talk today about what is an Abrahamic perspective, who was Abraham, what did he stand for, what was his message to the world. So please,
Okay.
thank you, Mr. Weissman, for
So
doing
let me start with an interesting observation that actually the Talmud makes about Abraham, and says that who is Abraham is like a man who walks by a house and sees the lights on and says, "Aha, this house must have an owner." A strange, a strange analogy. But it says, imagine that we have a whole world full of people, and they're looking around at the world. And at the time that Abraham lived, figure he's, of course, from Mesopotamia. So that makes me a Mesopotamian American, right? So he's from Mesopotamia. And people are seeing all sorts of different kinds of gods and all sorts of different kinds of powers in the world. And he is looking at the world and says, wait a second, the lights are on. There must be one owner. And the story goes on to say that he was an observer of the stars. Right? He used to like to go out at night and he used to like to observe the stars. And he was a little bit of an astronomer.
Mm.
And so he would watch the movement of the stars. And as he would observe the movement of the stars, he thought to himself, there's an order to this. This is not random. This follows fixed laws. And so he came to the conclusion on his own that there was one God. So how amazing. So first of all, remarkably enough, the Abrahamic intuition of God is not based on faith, but based on science. So very interesting, based on an observation, right?
Yeah, he was a seeker of truth, wasn't he? I
Right.
would say always inclined to higher truth and asking questions and trying to use his intellect to answer those questions and then ask new questions and use that sort of
Right.
ability to use reason and logic to get to a point,
So
a
here was a
place where
person
he
who
believed.
went
Yeah.
looking for God, right?
Hmm.
This is the not just waiting, not waiting for God. We often think of prophecy as waiting for God to find you, right?
Hmm.
That God just reaches down and chooses the prophet. But in this case, Abraham really chooses God and really discovers God through his own observation of the world. And that's, I think, part of the Abrahamic perspective is for us to be looking at the world, and seeing that the lights are on, right? To seeing that the world has an owner, that and that it and that there's somebody that there's a presence that's living here, and to knock on the door, and to check it out.
Yeah.
And
And to do that, I guess we have to look at the world in awe, and ponder, and instead of, look at the world in a mocking type of way. I think it's that mentality, isn't it? Choosing to ponder
yeah.
than to mock, choosing to look up rather than look down on others and look, on anything around us really, so that we can learn. Um, and looking for the beauty within everything. It's that sort of choice of being, isn't it, really,
Yeah.
that we can all relate to. So I guess so. What else? What other characteristics of Abraham would so you're saying that sort of truth seeking and with saying that pondering and searching for answers is a way of Abraham, asking questions and then searching for those answers using our intellect. So what else was it about Abraham's character that would be a good role model for us humanity? Sorry about.
I think that first of all, there's a kind of, bravery, right? We know from the wonderful stories of his, right, of his childhood, right, of his kind of challenging the idolatry of his father, and the wonderful story of his setting up, destroying the idols and putting the stick into the biggest idol, and somebody comes in and says, "What happened?" He says, "Oh, the bigger one. He killed, he just killed all the smaller ones." And the person says, "That's not possible." He says, "That's right. That's not possible. So how is it that you can believe that these are so powerful when you don't even believe that they can destroy each other?"
Mhm.
And the bravery of doing that, we can't appreciate that because we don't live in a society where that's and kind of ingrained belief. But if you think about what it means, to be in a society where people really, really, really believe in those beings, to be able to say that. And we saw that he was punished, right? The whole story of the king Nimrod and throwing him into the furnace. That's not just because he was a religious rebel, but because he was really a rebel even against the state. Because if the king believes he's a god and you're saying, no, you're not a god, right? Then that's challenging the state. And that's a very, very, very big deal. So having that kind of bravery.
Mm.
And when God speaks to him for the first time, the first thing that we know that God said to him in the Torah was Lech Lecha, go. Amazing, right? An amazing thing. Normally, you might expect God to introduce himself. Excuse me, hello, I'm God. I'm going to be your God. I'm going to be your guide in this world. But he doesn't do that. He says, Lech Lecha, get up and go. And the words, by the way, in Hebrew are strange because it means literally Lech Lecha means go to yourself, which is very deep concept, right? Go to yourself, and it says leave your home, leave your your birthplace, and leave your father's family. So
Do you think that's about sort of leave the place of your current understanding, knowledge, the place where you think you know at the moment, leave that and keep walking towards higher truth? Keep.
well, think about that. There are three different things. So one is your land, okay, and one is your father's house, and the other is your birthplace. So, which is interesting because the Torah doesn't usually repeat itself like that. It seems like it's repeating itself. So your land, wherever we live, every place has its values and its kind of view of the world, right? I live here in the United States, and we have our view of the world. You live in the UK, and that has its view of the world, and there are people living in Pakistan that has a view of the world. There are people living everywhere in the world has that view. And so the first thing God says, okay, you know what? If you're going to come to truth, you may have to let go of that. And then there's the
perspective.
right that may not be the ultimate truth, may not be found in that worldview of your culture.
And comfort zone as well. People don't want to leave their comfort zones, do they?
No, they don't.
It's what they're born into. It's not
Right.
easy to leave home and just go somewhere else.
And then it says your father's house. So every family has its stuff. Okay? Every family has its stuff. Right? We all have our family dramas, the love that we get and the love that we don't get, and the support that we get, the discipline you get, the discipline we don't get. And we have all of those things, and those things also shape us. but maybe the truth isn't there either, right? Maybe the truth isn't in whatever it is that we've gotten from our culture.
Mhm.
And the third is our birth. It says it's usually translated as birthplace, but really it could be translated as birth. Then there are all these things that we think we're born with, right? Some of us, you know, we think um, we're born stupid, or we think that we're
Yeah.
born without the ability to speak, or we think that we're born um, without being the ability to be rational, or we are born without the ability to be emotional. We believe things about ourselves, you know, and that we're born with, and the truth is, it may not be true. So he said, so God starts out with him and says, listen, all these things that you've been holding on to, you've been holding on to this place, been holding on to your family, you've been holding on to your ideas about who you are from when you're born. He says, you know, you may have to let those go. And I'm going to take you to a place that I'm going to show you.
Mhm.
Now, that in itself is amazing, right? To say
Isn't
to
it?
somebody, okay, I'm going to lead you to a place and I'm
Mhm.
not going to tell you where you're going, okay? I'm going to show you because any really serious journey to the truth, you
Mhm.
don't know where it's going to take you, right? Any serious spiritual journey, there's no way that you know where it's going to end because it doesn't really end at the same place for any two people. Each of us is created completely differently, right? Abraham is not me, right? And I'm not, even though that's my name. um, that Abraham is not me. Um, and so, you know, it's interesting when God calls Abraham, he says, Abraham, Abraham. He says his name twice.
Mhm.
He says his name twice. And he answers, Hineni, here I am.
Mhm.
So why does
I,
he say his
mhm.
name? Why does he say his name twice? He didn't hear him the first time. It's, you know, it's God speaking to you. You would think he heard him the first time.
Mhm.
Because who Abraham was a second ago is not the same as who he was now, right?
Mhm.
He's constantly changing. He's Abraham, Abraham, Abraham. He's changing in every second.
Yeah.
So an
Yeah.
amazing. So the journey is one that the journey is one you don't know where it's going to end, and you
Constant
have to give up
revelation.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's about sacrifice, isn't it? His journey was about sacrifice and about um complete surrender to a will higher than his own, and seeking of truth, inclining towards truth. And once the truth is being revealed, not to turn away from it, but to actually take that upon himself and do those commands that were given to him. As in, I guess it's sort of, for me, the journey of Abraham is about, I think there is an Abraham in all of us.
Hmm.
And it's that the we're all being called to a higher truth. And when we choose to seek truth and look at the world in a with while we ponder and ask questions, and that involves self-reflection and mindfulness and meditating and all those things, but also bravery, to have the courage to take that truth upon yourself and to carry it and to speak it and to do it and to share it with others.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, that's an also an interesting point is the way, you know, he shared it. You know, when he left, it says that he left with the souls that he had made in Haran. That's how the Torah puts it. Meaning to say that he had created a community of people,
mhm,
and he had, you know, it's a very strange way of putting it. The souls that he had made, the souls they had made, um, you know, okay, does it mean people, you know, converted to his way or that's one way of thinking about it. The other way to think about it is that he helped people find a kind of new version of themselves.
mhm,
Um, and and shared that. And I think that's one of the most unique, that's one of the really unique features is up until Abraham, I would say that communities were defined only by ethnicity, right?
Hmm.
I mean, if you were born into a Hittite family, right? You were a Hittite, right? And you believed whatever Hittites believed, and that was it. Um, but Abraham starts a different kind of community, right? The people who were his followers were people who said, "No, I'm joining a new kind of tribe," right? It's a completely different kind of tribe, a tribe that's defined by faith and by a way of living, not
Yeah.
just by the fact that I'm a Hittite or I'm a Yebusi or I'm a whatever. I'm a Mesopotamian. I'm Assyrian. I'm whatever. But
Yeah.
because I'm
Something else.
ascribing to a certain way of life and to certain faith and belief, and that was an innovation.
Hmm.
That you could create such a tribe and
Hmm.
that you could create such a people.
Yeah, that
Um,
brought people together, and Abraham was great at welcoming guests, wasn't he? Which brings me to my next point. You set up an organization called Abraham's Tent, and so I'd like you to share with everybody why you set that up, and how Abraham inspired you. How did Abraham inspire you to do that?
so the story of Abraham's tent is there's a tradition, a Jewish tradition, that Abraham's tent was open on all four sides. That he had a tent, and you can still, by the way, you see this if you look at Bedouin tents in Jordan, you can still see that they have them that are open on all four sides, and the idea was so he could look for guests in all directions, and if you saw somebody who was traveling, he would go and he would rush and he would bring them in. And he had kind of an inn, actually. He had kind of one of the world's first desert motels, and for travelers. And this was really his way of teaching beautiful stories about how people would come in and he would serve them a beautiful, beautiful meal. He would come, they'd wash their feet, wash their hands, and give them everything that they needed, a place to rest. And when they were done, they'd say, "Thank you, Abraham. The food was amazing. Hospitality was amazing. Thank you." And he'd say, "Well, listen, don't thank me, thank God." And they'd go, "Which God are you talking about?" I said, "Well, there's only one God." "What do you mean one God? What kind of nonsense is that? What do you mean one God?" He said, "Listen, everything in the world's really created by one God. And He created it. I just put things together. I made the meal, but really He is the creator of heaven and earth, and He created." And that's how he would teach. He'd teach about God. But it's not just teaching about God. That's also how he would teach people that our relationship with God
Mhm.
is also mediated by our relationship with one another.
Yeah,
And and we now take that for granted. We think that as being, I think that this is thank God we do, right? I think because of Judaism, because of Christianity, because of Islam, we take for granted the idea that serving other human beings and the way we treat other human beings is part of our service of God. But that was a new idea, right?
Mhm.
And he introduced this idea that, look, kindness and hospitality, the way you treat people is essential um, to creating a kind and just, good community. And I know for me, hospitality, so the reason why I chose
Mhm.
Abraham's tent is because for me, hospitality is the greatest way of teaching people how to be better human beings
Mhm.
and how to create better relationships with each other. I think of
Yeah,
any two people
go
as
on.
being like different worlds,
Yeah.
right? So here we have two people, okay? So here's Lee world over here, okay? And there's Lale world over there, okay? Two different universes, right? And in these two different universes, many, many different things are happening. And we have, and in these two different universes, there are different neighborhoods, right? There are different places. There are cities and there are villages, and there are dark neighborhoods, and there are light neighborhoods, there are dangerous neighborhoods, right? There are pleasant neighborhoods. There's all sorts of things going on in each one of these places, right? And and when you're a guest, okay, so let's say, right? So let's say I invite you over to Lee World. Okay, so we have a little bridge between these two windows here, and I invite you over into Lee World, right? So now I'm the host, okay, and you're the guest. Okay, so as the host, what's my job? My job is to share the best that I have, right? I share the best of myself, the best of my food, the best of, I give you the best seat in the house, right? There's the best seat in the house, right? I give you the best seat in the house, I give you the best of everything, right? That's my job, is to make you feel, my job is to make you feel, welcome. What's your job? Your job is to receive gracefully, right? Right? To receive gracefully and to come with a real curiosity, right? So you're going to be looking, and, yeah, look at the books, right? You can say, oh, what does this guy read over here, right? And so you're going to check out, yeah, we always do that. When you go to someone's house, you check out the books, right? You're going to check out the books. Oh, let's see what he reads, right? Now, when you check out the books, you're not going to look and you're not going to hold up one of the books and go, this is the stupidest book I ever read. No, you're not going to do that, right? You're going to say, oh, these are very interesting books, even if you're not thinking, kind, right? You're probably not going to rearrange my furniture, right? So you're not going to walk in and go, that couch would really look much better over here, right? You're not going to try to rearrange the way I think and the way right? No, you're not going to do that, right? And that's how we should be dealing with each other, right? We're visiting you into someone's world. We're always not to try to change the way they think, to rearrange their furniture, but try to understand them, try to appreciate them, right? Try to learn about each other. And so that relationship of being a host and being a host guest is so powerful.
Really
And
is. It's all about giving and receiving, isn't
yeah,
it? And we're all giving and receiving at every moment in time. We breathe in, we breathe out, and every interaction with every person, we're giving something and we're receiving something from them. So, um, there's and Abraham, I guess, peace be upon him, sets a great example of how to be a great host. And he was very giving, wasn't he? Because obviously when you get to the point where you're just, I've got four questions. Do we, we all have to receive, and some of us receive in order to just receive. We don't have to give anything back. And they just, take. And then there are some of us who receive in order to give back. And then there are some of us who give in order to receive. And there are some of us who give just in order to give. And I think that's probably the spiritually highest place, isn't it? To give
well,
without
yes.
wanting to receive anything in return, and just that true kindness of just giving. But also obviously accepting that there is our creator who always is giving to us, and he's the source of infinite bounty and provision.
Right,
And
we're always receivers, right? We're always receivers.
exactly. But
Yeah.
we our source is, but our source, he's our source within us, and it's from a place that doesn't ever run out. So it's infinite, I guess. And kindness is infinite, isn't it? It's like kindness is free, and we can always, I think all the beautiful things in the world, all the beautiful attributes that we can also choose to be, comes from an infinite source of you know, it's free.
Right. So we learn to channel those things, right? Imagine, there's infinite amount of kindness, infinite amount of or whatever, and we take that and we channel it in the best way that we can. So we're always, imagine kind of receiving with one hand, giving with the other. There used to be these rabbis who used to wander around, uh, and there were some who had the custom never to keep money from one day to the next, right? So whatever, and people would give them money because it was considered to be, a blessing to give them money. And whatever money they had, they would reach into their pocket and they would give to someone else. And I think to some extent, that's, I think, what we're all doing. I mean, at some level, you know. Um,
Well, sometimes when you give too much, it can put you into tricky situations as well because
well,
those I think human beings are about balance, and it's good to find a
right. You
balance.
don't want to you don't want to deplete yourself, right? I mean, part of it is you can't, this is why, it's the old story of the uh the instructions on the airplane, right? Uh when God forbid the airbags come down and you have to put the respirator over your mouth, put the respirator over your mouth first and then over your child, right? And you think, okay, that doesn't make any sense. But the problem is if you don't have the respirator over your mouth, there's no way that you can help your child. You're going to be, passing out and unable to help. So you have to take care of, you have to make sure that you have something to offer to other people. And that's also, it's very important to kind of build, to build your resources, and that's, you know,
And to always remember our creator and be connected to him, because that's where it all comes from, and he's the source of all of our
and
wisdom.
that's, I think one of the beauties of the Abrahamic approach, I think, is the kind of recognition, yes, that everything is coming from God. And to be able to say at the end of the meal, you know, yeah, thank you for complimenting my chicken, but I didn't create chickens.
I
I
cooked
I
it.
I didn't, you know. It says, but the
Yeah,
one who created chickens did a great job, right? Because they're really tasty, even though they're very ugly. They're kind of ugly, but they are very, very tasty. And he did a really good job, and we should be able to say thank you to him. And to recognize that not only that, but he created the intelligence that somebody had to create the heating in my house, so I'm not freezing right now, and all of these things. But that idea that no, we have to keep looking for our creator and everything. That's, I think, fundamental to the kind of Abrahamic perspective. Um,
It's always nice to say blessing over before eating, and saying thank you to our creator after eating, and
yeah.
for all of our provision. He's the source of everything. And
Somebody once said that all of prayer boils down to three words. It says, please, thank you, and I love you. Three things. Please, thank you, and I love you. You say, um, but it doesn't require nothing more than that. But just to say please before you eat.
Mhm.
Say thank you, and to say, I love you to the creator for creating such a beautiful world and putting chickens.
My
And all
daughter,
the wonderful
my
things that
daughter,
go with the chickens.
I found an egg in my room yesterday, and I said to my daughter Miriam, what's this egg doing in my room? And she said, "Oh, mummy, I'm trying to hatch a chicken."
I,
She's been
I
trying
see
to keep this egg in my room nice and warm because, bless her, she thought that a chicken would come
that a
up.
chicken would
But
come from it.
she's now, yeah, so we're now talking about, trying to get a chicken.
Well, you
Like
should
a chicken that
you
sort
should, you
of
should get chicken eggs. You can get like real chicken eggs that will hatch, and you could hatch them.
awesome though. I'd love to see a chicken hatch, like a chick hatch
Yeah,
from an egg.
yeah. I think
What
it's a
came
good idea.
first, the chicken or the egg?
that you'll find out. You'll find out. Okay.
Okay.
So I think we did a good job today.
Thanks to our creator and God bless you. Thank you. Barak Hashem. Yes, I think we covered a good deal of there's there's so much we can learn from Abraham. But seeking truth, his kindness, his compassion, and his hospitality and his ability to be brave, and once a revelation was revealed to him, a command from his creator, he obeyed and he surrendered to the will of his creator, and he's a great example for us all. And may we all be truth seekers and kind.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. See you all soon.
Okay, thank you everybody for watching, and if you like this, please share.
Share. Make sure share.